Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sutclif, faithfully converting oxygen into carbon dioxide on a daily basis. I have more info for you about the incel. This is sourced partially from Reddit and some of it my own original material. The incel community is a monstrosity far worse than nice guys, and those who lament about being trapped in the mythical friend zone, incels, not only believe that they are entitled to sex and relationships with women, but they also blame women for their loneliness and want to punish them for it. In short, they are misogynistic extremists. This extremism existed long before the likes of Elliot Rodger, the Santa Barbara shooter who murdered 6 people before dying by suicide because he was angry about being a virgin. While we might think of Rodger as the most well-known incel, I believe that men like him have even more infamous and even more degrading ancestral kin. Believe it or not, the term incel was coined by a woman named Alana. She created the term in the early 1990s during her time as undergraduate student as a way to talk about her own inability to connect with people romantically as she was exploring her sexual and romantic orientations and coming into the queer identity. However, her vision became twisted when the website that she set up became populated by men who were prone to antagonistic, repetitive complaining, and then became even further perverted by Redditors like Elliot Rodger. Once they got a hold of it a few years ago, they had finally found a word to attach to their already festering hatred towards women, society, and themselves because of their perpetual singlehood and lack of sexual experience. Let's face it, being single is hard for a lot of people. It's now even classified as a disability by the World Health Organization. The difficulty of singlehood is not only due to the assumptions that people immediately make about your character, but is also due to a lack of touch and emotional support in male-female relationships. Romantic, familiar, or otherwise, the brunt of the emotional labor falls onto women because gender cultivation indoctrinates men into a kind of masculinity that forbids emotional intelligence on their part. Therefore, they rely on the women in their lives to provide the emotional support that all humans need to foster emotional, mental, and physical well-being. We place too much emphasis on sex and romantic relationships and the widely accepted expectations and permissions of adult platonic and familiar relationships, especially among men, largely preclude the kinds of physical intimates that are accepted and expected with regular human skin-to-skin contact is linked to anxiety, increased stress level, and depression. That is lack of... let's skip that. Okay, where were we? These things are expected within romance, like cuddling, back rubs, massages, and hand-holding. Skin hunger is real. Lack of regular human skin-to-skin contact is linked to anxiety, increased stress levels, and depression, as well as heart disease, inflammation, decreased immune system, and high blood pressure. The pain of loneliness can manifest itself in ugly ways, and skin-to-skin contact can help curb some of the pain. The one thing that the incel community is right about is that being alone when you are desperately and don't want to be is devastating and excruciating. But because expectations of masculinity dictate that men can/should express their emotions only through dominance, aggression, and violence, and because patriarchy and paternalism dictate that women are for male consumption, and because misogyny dictates that women deserve to be punished, the incels channel all of their frustrations in the only way that they know how. Do you know what that is? By taking it out on women, of course. But this form of inceldom did not begin with Redditors. I believe that it began with Ed Kemper, the star serial killer of Netflix's new crime procedural Mindhunter. This isn't to say that Kemper is the first incel in all of history. Definitely not. I'm certain that there were others preceding him, but he may be the first contemporary recognizable figure who displayed the same sentiments as today's incels when he explained why he killed women. Quote, "My frustration, my inability to communicate socially, sexually, I wasn't important, but emotionally I was impotent. I was scared to death of failing in male-female relationships. A behemoth of a man, towering over the world at 6'9", Kemper murdered 6 co-eds in the early 70s, along with his mother and her best friend, after having shot his grandparents to death some years prior at the age of 15. Not only did he trap young women in his car, terrorize them, and kill them, but he also humiliated their corpses afterwards by engaging in sex acts with them. And it was all punishment for his own lack of social and sexual aptitude. A true psychopath and necrophile. Kemper perfectly We have a moment of silence. Hold on, bear with me. Bear with me. Okay, so Kemper definitely fit the definition of an incel. Now, what about David Berkowitz? So does David Berkowitz, better known as Son of Sam, the shooter who some consider to be ground zero for the lone gunman narrative, he killed 6 people in New York over the span of a year, between 76 and 77, because of his hatred for women, which partially grew out of his inability to form relationships with them. He said, quote, "I want to be a lover to women, but I want to destroy them too, especially women who dance. Them I hate. I hate their sensuality, their moral laxity. I'm no saint myself, but I blame them for everything. By their own admission, their motives for the destruction that they carried out are no different from the motives of Elliot Rodgers. The social and sexual inaptitude mirrors that of the self-proclaimed incels who rant online about how their lack of connection with women is never any fault of their own, but always the fault of women. Elliot Rodgers is a direct descendant of Ed Kemper. They have many, many kindred spirits." Incels are, by far, some of the most vile people on the face of the earth. Their offenses include, but certainly are not limited to, advocating for sex slavery, claiming that women consistently falsely accuse men of rape, some of them do, manipulating the definition of rape in order to benefit those who commit sexual violence, demanding that women in abusive relationships be imprisoned for what they see as being actively complacent in inceldom, insisting that treating incels for depression should be a punishable crime, celebrating the deaths of normies, that's a term, an incel term, they have their own dictionary, Urban Dictionary. Not sure what a normie is. I have to go look that up. Killed in the recent Las Vegas shootings suggested that the government pay women to date them. Right. That's identifying sexually active fat women as the ultimate oppressors because how dare they enjoy sex while they remain I don't get that part. Virgins when we're the ones who are supposed to be undesirable and threatening hunger strikes until the government assigns them a girlfriend. Are you putting me on? I'm gonna go on a hunger strike till the government gets me a girlfriend? Gee, I don't think that'll happen. That's ludicrous. Totally ludicrous. Well, women can't be lonely, sad, depressed, mentally ill, humans, smart, loyal, faithful, respectable, or incel. Women can be whores, sluts, prostitutes, property, items, livestock, possessions, cum buckets, sex dolls, or maids. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the most chauvinistic shit I've ever heard. A Redditor formerly known as the Incel blogger offered this quote in a lengthy blog post following Elliot Rodgers' killing spree. That's a guy, I don't know, he ran his car or van or something somewhere. It's happened so many times, I don't know. He's the guy that ran up on the sidewalk and killed a bunch of people, and he said he did it because he was tired of being a virgin and wanted to get a message through to the world, which he obviously did. Okay, let me see where we are. We are what happened is a proof that incels murder people. Society that will claim incel didn't because his pain is a sick society which thinks males should be okay with this hell. What happened is punishment for evil, violence of feminists and liberals, and I don't want to get into all that stuff. But the extent of which these incel men feel entitled to have access to women is simply astounding. Well, we're pretty much aware of that. We're even getting more aware of that. And the extent to which they will go to deny responsibility for their solitude is even more astonishing. They took a completely valid term and perverted it with the misogyny and violence that already existed in the world. The incel community is a cult of hatred, feeding on toxic masculinity, misogyny, and a host of other disgusting belief systems. And we should count some of modern history's most abominable serial killers like Ed Kemper and David Berkowitz amongst them. So there's just a little stuff there. I encourage everybody to learn more about the incel. And tell me in the comments, do you think Bridge Guy is an incel? Was he an incel? I think he was. He sure had some of the traits. Oh, son of a gun. I feel sorry. I'm glad I'm not a woman in this day and age. I feel sorry. There's a war against women, even with non-incels. And ladies and gentlemen, be aware that all incels are not violent, and some of them are lone wolves and just operate by themselves and don't belong to any of the incel groups that are out there. So they're not. Some of them are just very lonely souls that just are socially awkward by no fault of their own. Okay? If there are any incels out there that have listened to this video, I would like to hear your take on it. Send me an email at realstewsutclif.com and tell me what you think. Signing off now. Thanks for listening.